Hey everybody, welcome to the round 16 review. It was all about the Saints in round 16. They got the job done. It was the Blues 10 goals, 78 to the Saints 14 goals, 93 in a good game of footy, I guess, if you're a neutral. Not so good if you're a Carlton supporter. In essence, we got exactly what we deserved. It was probably the first game of the year that I can really remember where we were so wasteful. And I think wasteful is the key term that I would use to sum up what round 16 was. So there you go. See you next week. Going into the game, I definitely felt that the Saints would be a lot better than what they had been in the previous 3 weeks. They had a tough loss to Brisbane and then 2 really disappointing losses, and it had them really flat. And the Saints are a really interesting team in that just when you think you've got them figured out, they turn it around. When you think they're going really well and they've figured it out and they're a serious contender, they lose or they drop a couple of games here and there that are really, uncharacteristic, if you want to call it. And then likewise, the other end, when you think they're going not so well and you think it's really falling apart, and then you see the questions around them and everything else going on, they seem to pull it out. I was very confident that they would come out with the heat, and they did in the first quarter. And the first quarter, especially the first 10 to 15 minutes, looked not dissimilar to what it looked like last week with Freo. And I guess my mentality in the first quarter was just more around if we can just, stem the bleeding, mitigate the damage, take their first punch, and then respond, I thought we'd be okay. And I actually thought for the most part we did that. They were also very wasteful in the first quarter, the Saints, and that probably could have put a bit more scoreboard pressure on us. And I thought, maybe we've got a bit of a lucky break. We seemed to find a little bit at the end of that first. Got the goal that we needed. A little spark from Jesse Motlop after a beautiful passage of play with Josh Honey there. I thought the second quarter we responded really well, and then in turn so did the Saints. And I found myself, I know we've lost the game and we're disappointed, but I actually thought it was a hot, contested, finals type intensity game of football, mixed with a bit of inaccuracy, wastefulness. That's another word that pops up as well. It was just the theme of the night. I really thought the method around the contest was okay. It was sort of back and forth. The Saints had a bit of dominance, and then we would respond with a little bit of dominance in the middle. I didn't feel like we completely let ourselves down in that regard when it came to going hard at the contest and tackling pressure and all of that. And, ultimately I really did feel like, we gave ourselves an opportunity to win, clearly. And I remember thinking probably halfway through the second, start of the third, the focus just didn't seem to be at that same level as what it was last week. We'd come off a really big win, Freo, top 4 team, second on a ladder at the time of entering that match. We really had to elevate ourselves and play our best footy. And, it just didn't have the same focus. It seemed like there was so many contests where we were just half a second too late, or took a third of a second more to really get possession of the ball after a bit of a fumble, and, some seriously poor errors by foot. I thought, we still tried to use those inboard kicks at times, and they didn't come off. We would get scored off the turnover pretty easily and deflate ourselves a bit, and it was just one of those games. And I guess at the end of it, it all kind of made sense by the end of the game. In the sense that didn't feel like we were unlucky in any regard. Wasteful kicking. I think in the third quarter there were probably 3 set shots in a row from really good angles. It's something that we don't usually get every week, where we set ourselves up with opportunities in front of goal from close to directly in front. But I think, George Hewitt missed a set shot. Tom De Koning missed a pretty gettable set shot. Charlie as well. And what's that saying? Bad kicking is bad footy. We just didn't get on top of our game. And then, combined with that, you had the halfback flankers of the Saints seemingly doing whatever they wanted. Bradley Hill, Jack Sinclair had dynamite games, and seemingly we didn't, we just didn't give them enough respect or attention. I understand we probably back our method in. Vossi did mention that in the post-game presser, and that we back ourselves in, and we don't necessarily tag, even though we did put Cottrell onto Bradley Hill in that third quarter. And even in the fourth, I still had this confidence that we could win the game. I have this confidence with the team that, especially in dry conditions, which they always are at Marvel, that within 5 or 6 or 7 minutes we can really put a lot of scoreboard pressure on. And I thought we had quite a few opportunities to do that, and just didn't take them. And the game rewards you, and the game punishes you for exactly what you put in there. And ultimately, I think the lack of full focus was really what cost us in the end. Also, the Saints, full credit. Take nothing away from them. They were fantastic. They were tough. They were hard. They spread well. They used their runners. And what they did really well last night, all game, they didn't get sucked into playing down the line. They really moved our defensive scheme left to right, the entire ground. They really used the width and, played a game similar to what we have been playing when we're at our best. We move the ball left to right, open up the ground, then we go for that inboard kick. Whereas I felt like we were trying to do it the other way around, go for the inboard kick first before moving the defense. So, it was what it was. En malasot. What can you do? It was a loss. It was a loss that we deserved. And, one thing about losses this season for me, and I guess I'd be curious to see how you feel about them too, I don't feel the demoralizing feeling when we lose this year. Because we still have that hardness in our approach to the contest, and sometimes we're off. And I guess it's going to be a good learning experience for us. When you're not at your best, which we know we're not going to be at our best every week, because you just can't. It's just not one of those things that's very easy to do, and especially at this stage of the group and where they're at. We have to figure out when we're not at our best. We have to make the most of our opportunities and really focus in when we get them. And that ultimately is what got us undone. I think the missed opportunities combined with just the inefficiency all around the ground ultimately is what cost us the game. And I guess that the key focus now is don't let one loss become two. Just respond, which is something that we've been able to do very well all year. We've not lost 2 games in a row all season. I'm hoping that trend continues. We're in a really good position overall in the season, and we got beat. We got beaten. And that's the beauty of the competition. It's even. And, 5% off can be the difference between you winning and losing a game. And it was just a classic example of that, So, we lose another Carlton Respects game. We have not won one of them. I believe it's 7 or 8 in a row. Someone can correct me on that in the comments. So, I don't really think that has anything to do with the loss. I think it's just a coincidence. I don't know, maybe it isn't. Maybe it takes the focus away. I'm not sure. But it is a very crucial initiative. I actually loved the pre-game setup that we had. They do it very well at Marvel. Obviously, the roof's closed, so they have the light show as well. I thought it was done in good taste, and just represented the cause very well. And as I said in the preview, I think we represent the cause with real honour. Now, unfortunately, we aren't able to win a game while representing this cause. So that's something hopefully we can do next year and sort of buck that trend, because it's quite a few games that we've lost, while representing this initiative. Just a disappointing performance. I do feel like it's going to be a strong learning curve for the boys moving forward, and especially when we get to the crunch time of the season. Ultimately what I would hope to have by the end of the year is we need to be playing at our best for 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row, and that's going to be a big challenge for the group. We've had really good patches in terms of week to week getting wins, but it's going to go up a level. and we need to be better for it. We need to be prepared for it, and hopefully the work's being put in to do that. I think also we kind of knew that we're in this, I don't know if you call it a holding pattern while Wiedering's out and the like, and we just needed to get as many wins as possible. Pretty confident that he's going to return next week, so we know that our structure behind the ball is going to be elevated, knowing that he's coming back. And yeah, I'm hopeful that we can start to build some momentum, start getting a good run of form. You know, we start entering that latter part of the season. Round 17 is next week, and we really need to focus on getting the wins to get us into finals and building some serious form, because you know we've got an opportunity here. There are quite a few teams that would fancy themselves and what they're capable of, and quite a few teams that would have belief that they can do something pretty special this year, and I think we're one of those teams. But just because we feel that way now doesn't mean that that's the case. The work still has to go in, and yeah, I'm not disenchanted. I'm obviously disappointed, but full credit to the Saints. There's nothing else you can really say. They got the job done, and they had to win. There was just a real desperation about them. And also with them, you know, Rowan Marshall goes down late, gets the concussion test. That should have been something we capitalised on. Then there was the sickening head clash. That was terrible to see. Two of the Saints players just colliding face to face. So in the end, they had one player on the bench, and really we should have been able to take advantage of that. But again, the Saints were able to get the job done. So well done to them. We'll move on, lick our wounds. We've got a nice solid break to sit in it and prepare for West Coast next week. And you know, that's really obviously just a must-win game. They're all must-win from here on in. The pressure starts to lift now. And this is the challenge for the group, you know, because, you know, with that pressure comes expectation, and we need to be able to manage and handle and focus with all the expectation and the external. And yeah, it is really interesting. We spoke about it last week about how do you stay in that consistent realm of focus and motivation. I think there's plenty to be motivated by. I don't doubt that. But yeah, ultimately we need to respond. So those are my thoughts. What about you? How did you find that game? What did you think? How are you feeling the day after? And what are some of the, I guess, what's the key learning that we'll take from this game? Let me know in the comments below. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll go from there.